Hi, I'm Jodi with Enlighten Ya. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are going to be talking about presence part 2. So in our last time together, I asked you to observe your thoughts. And I'm curious how your thoughts were treating you. Were they kind? Were they not so kind? Were you constantly in the future or constantly in the past, wondering how you could have changed things? Or were you pretty present? Take an inventory of your thoughts, and I want you to do me a favor and set your calendar for 3 months from now and 6 months from now, okay? Setting a note for 3 months and assess your current happiness, because the amount of presence you have in your life will improve your happiness. What is your happiness level right now? And 3 months from now, and then 6 months from now. Okay, so go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, I want you to hit the subscribe button, please. And thank you so much for being here. And don't forget the little bell next to that. If you enjoy my videos so far, I would love it if you could subscribe. Okay, so presence. So how do you manage being present, staying in presence when something horrible is happening in your life and you're under tremendous, tremendous stress? So I'm going to give you an example of a very, very stressful situation that I recently went through, which is why this video is so late, and how I got through it using presence, mindfulness, and gratitude. Okay? So over the last several weeks, my husband has been dealing with some very bad health issues. Over the last 8 years, he has had cancer, bone cancer, and it causes all sorts of problems all the time for him. But he was having some health issues that could not be resolved. We had been to the emergency room already, and they gave him a bunch of antibiotics, and then we went to the hospital the next day and they gave him more antibiotics. They also gave him a little bit of red blood cells and said that he was probably just very anemic, and that would help. And sure enough, he felt better for a few days, but then after that, the symptoms continued and they were getting worse. He was having high fevers, he was having a hard time walking across the house, and he was having tremendous pain. Now, he did have a cough that he acquired several weeks before then, and because of that, when he coughs, sometimes he breaks ribs because he has bone cancer, and that's what happens, which is very sad, but it's very true. So he had cracked some ribs, and he thought that was probably a lot of his discomfort, but he was having other issues. And I kept telling the doctors, this is happening, this is what's going on, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So I made him go to the doctor when he didn't have an appointment on Friday, to his oncologist, and his oncologist looked at his blood work and still couldn't really see anything, and he says, well, you probably just need antibiotics. And sure enough, that wasn't what he needed. And then he started listening to me and really hearing what I was saying, and said, actually, you could have some nerve issues going on. We need to get you into the emergency room right away, which was very good that they did that, because as we were going down to the emergency room from a different floor, many things happened. His blood pressure dropped out. He started spiking a very high fever. This is what was happening every day anyway, and he was having tremendous pain to the point where he wasn't even really that clear in his conversation with me a lot. So I was getting very nervous, of course. Well, long story short is they did a MRI and found out the next day that he had some nerves that were being squished by a tumor. They were causing compressed nerves, which was giving him some organ problems. And that was what was causing so much of the problem. The thing is that they told him that we need to do emergency surgery right away, because if this goes on any longer, you could have permanent nerve damage, and it could cause you to be paralyzed, or it can cause these particular organs to not work properly for the rest of your life. So of course he doesn't want that. Yes, emergency surgery, even though he went into the hospital saying, I'm not staying the night and I will not have surgery again. But his choices at the time, see, this is a good example of presence, how he was preemptively thinking about what he was not going to do and not taking the present information in account that he can't make that decision yet because he didn't have all the facts. So now that he has all the facts, he's decided, yes, I need to have surgery. The doctors also told him, look, we have to tell you that somebody in your health condition, low blood pressure, low red blood cells, low white blood cells, low platelets, usually doesn't come out of surgery. You usually end up in a coma. And we want to let you know that we feel like we're going to do everything we can to prevent that, but the chances are pretty high that you're not going to come out of the anesthesia properly. So of course, this stresses him out, and we don't even have time to think, because they call him on the phone to tell him this, because they said, we are putting a team together right now. I don't have time to come and show you what's going on. You just have to trust me and know that this is what's happening and how we're going to try and make this okay for you. So we don't even get 3 minutes. In fact, I wasn't even in the room when this happened. I had gone to get something to eat and came back, and he's like, they're prepping me for emergency surgery right now. And so he's delivering me the information to tell our children in case he doesn't wake up. He's upset, of course, and he's messages for his family, messages for his friends, things like that. So how did I not completely lose it during this time? The way that I did was I made a mindful decision not to freak out. I made a mindful decision to stay calm. I made a mindful decision to stay present with him in that moment, because he needed me to be there in that moment. And he needed me to be there for him in that moment. And so that is what I chose to do. I stayed present with him. I listened to him. I wrote down the things that he asked me to write down. And I did everything that needed to be done. Within 20 minutes, they had us both up into surgery. I wasn't in the surgery room, obviously, but in pre-op, and basically prepping him for surgery. Okay, so after he and I separated, I kind of started thinking, oh my God, that may have been the last time I ever saw him. But I said, no, I'm not going to assume that. Okay, I don't know that yet. And there isn't anything that's going to change where I am in my life right this moment, which is now headed to a waiting room. So I'm not going to freak out. I made a mindful decision again to stay present and be just where I was. So I sat down and I had a few text messages to send out to people to let them know that he was in and whatnot. And then I just sat there and was present in the moment. I read a little bit, and I helped a friend of mine he texted me and said, I'm going through some hard times. Do you have a minute? Sure. I did not really let him know what was happening with me, but I was like, absolutely can help you right now. So I did. And we chatted for a while online. And then I realized, okay, then the surgeon came out, and the surgeon said that the surgery went really well. And, those nerves freed up really, really nicely. And she felt like it looked really good, that they did their little anagram nerve test thing, and looked like things were going to be really good. Only time would tell if there was damage there or not with the nerves. But it looked good. So that was super positive, and I was super happy. An hour after that happens, and I still haven't heard anything. And usually I started thinking, how long is it usually that they call me back into his recovery room? Usually I'll either go back into the recovery room, or when they're wheeling him out of recovery, they want me to meet, because he's usually asking for me at that point. So I'm thinking, that's usually within 45 minutes that they say that they're done, but I'm not going to freak out. 2 hours goes by, and I'm thinking, that is a really long time. So I said, nope, not going to stress out about it yet. I'm going to take my time I'm going to choose to be present. And I did. I closed my eyes, I shut my mind off, and I just went into my body and allowed my spirit to align with myself and found presence. 3 hours goes by, and I'm thinking, okay, this is really getting to be a long time. 3 hours in recovery is a long time. Nope, not going to freak out about it. I'm going to only wait and see what happens when it happens. I don't know what's going on back there, and they're not telling me anything, so that's okay. I'm okay where I am right now in the present moment, and I'm mindfully choosing not to freak out. Again, like I said, this is not easy. This is something that I had to work towards, and you would have to work towards it as well. So I waited another half an hour. And then I called. They have a phone there that you can call back. And there's a phone number that says if you have questions, dial this number. So I did. And they said, okay, look, we just got him completely stabilized. And he's doing really well. He's asking for you, and we're going to his room. Can you meet us in his room? So that's what I did. So 3.5 hours. I could have been crying and freaking out. I could have been really just a complete nut and basket case. But instead I chose to be present and wait for the news that was coming to me. Now, I could have been a complete and utter disaster when I met him in his room because I'd been crying for 3 hours, but I chose not to. I could have really elevated my own cortisol and my stress levels and all of that had I chosen to allow my mind to go crazy. But I chose not to do that. And instead, I chose presence. So this is how you use presence in your everyday life to not let your mind go out of control and go crazy. I use presence for every single time that we're getting news that I know is not going to be good about his condition. There's nothing I can do to change the news. I usually know what they're going to say before we get there. The news is not ever good. But I don't remember the last time we got really good news in 8 years with this. It's always well, this is going well, but, and that's just how it is. So when you're going through cancer diagnostic tests, when you're going through wondering what's happening with surgery and whatever, when you're going through a hard breakup, when you're going through recovery from an illness or car accident, or wondering about someone whom you love very much, presence will keep you sane. Presence will keep you feeling like you are in control. It's how you find peace during times of extreme stress. My mind functions much higher when I'm not using words. And I said that on the first video. But a lot of times when it comes to his situations, and I've been in several emergency situations with him. A week ago, we had to go to the emergency room because of an emergency situation where his heart was giving him a hard time. And presence keeps you calm because you don't know what you're walking into. And if you assume the worst, then you're probably attracting the energy of the worst. And I don't want to do that. And neither should you want to do that. So the key to happiness that you have to understand is that life is not going to give you everything that you need all of the time, okay, as far as happiness is concerned. You have to create it. And the easiest and the best way to create it is through presence. Mindfully choosing to stay in presence and giving gratitude for what you have every single day. And just really giving that gratitude. And I'm so grateful for another day here and with my husband, who's doing pretty well. Not out of the woods yet. Cancer is out of control right now. I mean, it's bad. But he's doing better. And when we go to the doctor tomorrow, they'll tell us what we're going to do, what he's got to do. And this is a we thing. Okay, cancer's never one person. It's whoever is caring for you and the cancer patient. And that's probably something for a future video. But staying present will save you through all of these things. Okay? Just like if you have a teenage child, and I have teenage kids, and now we have cell phones, so it's much easier. But let's say that you don't know where they are, and you're kind of like, what's the worst that could happen? Oh my gosh, are they on the side of the road? Are they in a car accident? Anything can happen. I just don't know. Stay calm, stay present, and act. You'll know when you need to make action, either to go out looking or calling or, doing whatever you can to track them. You will know, okay? Being present doesn't mean that you're not using your mind. You're using it in a much faster and quicker and better way, a much more efficient way. So that's part 2 on presence. It's my dog Indy in the back coming to join our video. Thanks so much for being with me. And if you could please hit the subscribe button, I'm asking again, and the little bell next to it, I would appreciate it. I'm Jodi, so glad to be here with you. Thanks for listening to me. Have a great, great, great week. And I'm going to hopefully post another video before Friday to make up for some lost time. And have a great week. Talk to you soon.